This conference will now be recorded.
Hi guys, good morning.
Morning.
Okay, so when we are developing a Power BI projects, there are four different kind of pages available. One is a data discovery page, and another one is data modeling page, data visualization page, and data sharing page. All these three pages, whatever the data discovery page and data modeling page and the data visualization page, all these three we are doing inside the Power BI desktop only. As a part of the data discovery, what we are trying to do, we are trying to identify the data source, understanding about your business, creating a connection to the data source, and importing the data into Power BI, and needs to clean the data while you are loading it. Okay, so those are the steps we are following under the data discovery. Then coming to the data modeling is whatever the tables you have imported, you need to design the relationships between the tables over here. We need to design the relationships between the tables. So as a data discovery part, we are identifying the data source and importing the tables. After that, as a part of data modeling, we are going to make the relationships. And the third page is data visualizations. Data visualizations is nothing but making the visuals by taking the data from your modeling, whatever the data you have taken. So all these three phases we are going to do inside the Power BI desktop only. Okay, so data sharing of the reports, we are publishing our reports into either Power BI online service or into the Power BI report server. Then those reports, if you want to see from your mobile, you can see from the mobile app. This is the architecture. This is the life cycle. The life cycle of the Power BI is there are four phases: data discovery page, data modeling page, data visualization page, data sharing page. We are in the data discovery page. As a part of the data discovery page, we have identified our data source as a SQL server. And if you want to connect and see the SQL server, simply go to the SQL Server Management Studio. So identifying the data source. So we have identified our data source as a SQL server. From that SQL server, we are going to establish a connection and connecting to our data source. Okay, our data source is a SQL server. Inside the SQL server, I have a database Adventure Works, and inside this database, I have some tables. In the last session, we have identified what tables we have to take into Power BI modeling to design the reports. While you are going to take the process, what we are calling is a ETL. What do you mean by ETL? Extracting the data from your data source and applying some transformation techniques, and finally loading the data into your Power BI. That is called ETL, extraction, transformation, and loading. So first I will show you how to connect to this SQL Server data source from Power BI desktop. So try to open your Power BI desktop. Simply over here, click on the Power BI desktop. So we have a Power BI desktop over here. Under this Power BI desktop, so to establish a connection to your data source, what we have to use, we have to take the server name. What is your SQL server name, and what is your Okay, so you just simply close this introduction window. We have to go to the get data, and what is your data source? You need to identify over here. So the data source is a SQL server. Go to the get data. The data source is a SQL server. And you need to provide your server name. Take the server name. Where is your database located? This is my server name. And the database name also you can specify. It is an optional. If you're not specifying the database name, it will display all the databases whatever you have. So simply take the database name as well. Take this database and copy over here. So there are two kind of connectivity modes. One is a input connectivity mode, another one is a direct query mode. So what is the difference between input connectivity mode and direct query mode? The difference between the input and direct query we have discussed in the last session. So those are where is the screen? Yeah, this is the one. No, I don't think this is the one. Okay, I think it's gone. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, so what is the difference between the connectivity modes? There are two connectivity modes when you are connecting to your data source. One is a input connectivity mode, and the one is a direct query connectivity mode. So what will happen when you are connecting to the data source through the input mode or through the direct query mode? So the difference between these two is, in the input connectivity mode, it will copy the whole data. Okay, it will copy the whole data from your data source system. Say for example, I have just 3 records only in my data source. So when you are selecting the import at 10:38 a.m., all the data will be copied over here. All the data will be copied over here. If there is any new record is added after you are importing the data, that record will not reflect in your data source in Power BI, because import is nothing but a copying of the data. At the time you are importing the data from your data source, it will just copy that data and store into Power BI desktop. Later, if any data is newly added to your data source, that will not reflect immediately in your Power BI desktop. That will not reflect immediately inside your Power BI desktop, because as per the schedule, daily morning 10:38 a.m. I am copying the data from my data source to Power BI. Again until tomorrow, I am not going to add anything over here. Until tomorrow 10:38 a.m. I am not going to input. So the data what is added newly will be reflecting tomorrow 10:38 a.m. That is called input connectivity mode. So when you are doing the import, whole data will be copied and saved into your memory. And tomorrow again when you are going to re-import the data, what will happen? The data whatever yesterday inserted, copied, that will be deleted first. It will delete the whole data yesterday what you imported, and freshly it will again re-import the all data from data source system to Power BI desktop. Understand what exactly input mode is doing? But coming to the direct query mode, so direct query mode will not copy any data. See here, it is just copying a metadata, means the table name and the column names. Then you can design the reports. But how this visualization will get the data? That will directly go to your data source every time to get the data. That means always whatever the live data you have in your source, only that particular data will be copied from your data source and displayed into your report. It's a live, every second, every minute, your visualizations are going to bring the data from your data source system. It is not because it is not going to store anything in your Power BI memory, but in the import connectivity mode, it is saving the data in your memory. So your visualizations always will take the data from your Power BI memory only, whatever the data already imported and copied. But in the DirectQuery mode, the data will not be saved or copied and stored into the Power BI memory. Always the data is in your data source. Whatever the data is required, ad hocly, quickly, required data will be copied, will be bringing from your data source into visualization. So that is the reason always live data will come into your Power BI desktop visualizations. Clear the difference between Power BI input connectivity mode and DirectQuery mode. So now what we can do, we will write down the advantages of the input connectivity mode and disadvantages of the input connectivity mode. Okay. Input connectivity mode. If I am using the input connectivity mode, what are the advantages? Tell me, what are all the advantages of the input connectivity? The advantages are, when your visualizations are going to display the data in your visualizations are going to take the data from where? This is the visualization. Your visualizations will take the data from the memory, whatever already stored in your Power BI. So instead of going to your data source, it is taking the data from your data source system to, your Power BI memory to visualization. So it is very faster. Definitely it is very faster. The visualization, your report performance is good because data is already copied and stored in the Power BI memory. Am I right? Okay, perfect. You just write down that statement. So the report performance is good because data is already copied and saved in Power BI memory. Report performance is good because data is already copied and saved into the Power BI desktop. So what are the other advantages? The other advantage is 1 second guys. So that is the one advantage. The second advantage is the input connectivity mode option, whatever you are getting, right, that will support all data sources. All data sources having the input connectivity mode. You got the point? In Power BI, I have around 200 plus data sources supporting. All the data sources, any data source you are connecting, at the time it will show you the input connectivity mode. 200 plus data sources, all the data sources will be connected to the, and input connectivity mode is supporting. That option is visible at the time you are connecting to the data source. Okay, all right. And the third option is, what is the other advantage of this one? Any other advantage? Did you find any other advantage here? The next advantage is, when you are using the input connectivity mode inside the Power BI desktop, all the features, development features, all development features are supporting in Power BI desktop. At the time you are developing the reports, the development features all are supporting when you are taking the import connectivity mode. And we are going to write down some DAX programming we are going to write down for the calculations. For the calculations, all DAX queries will be supported. For calculations, all DAX functions. In interview, they will ask a question 100%. This is the interview question. There is no doubt. What is a import mode and what is a direct query mode? What is the difference between those two? The question will come like this. Write down that question. What are the different kind of connectivity modes available? What are the different kind of connectivity modes available? So you have to tell import mode and direct query mode. Under the import mode, whatever we have, the import mode will support these advantages, disadvantages, and direct query mode you need to tell. So simply import mode will copy the data from data source to Power BI memory, Power BI modeling or whatever.
You can say local storage also.
Come again.
You say it will be saved in local storage also.
So initially when you are developing, that will save in your RAM memory. It's not a ROM. Every computer having two memories, ROM and RAM. ROM is nothing but your hard disk, but the data will be stored in the RAM, that is in memory, nothing but your cache memory. And people will ask, what is the configuration of your system? You will tell 500 GB of the RAM hard disk, 8 GB RAM. So when you are importing the data, it will use a RAM. So that is very faster. When your data is in a RAM, that is very faster comparing to hard disk. If anything, if you are storing the data will be, when you are trying to open a file stored in the hard disk, once you are opening, that will come to RAM memory. So when your mobile or computer RAM space is more, then your performance of the mobile and the laptop is more, 100%. So when you are developing a report in the Power BI desktop, it will use a RAM space. Whatever the data you copied, right, that will be saved into the RAM space. Okay. So the import mode will copy the data from your data source to Power BI modeling, and it will store in the RAM space. What is the advantage of this storage engine for the Power BI? The data will be stored into the RAM space, and also, let's say for example, if you are importing 100 GB of the data, it will compress to 10 GB of the data. 100 GB of the data will be compressed to 10 GB, 1/10. 100 GB of the data I have in my SQL Server data source. When I am importing, it will compress the data into a 10 GB space. It's not exact number. 1/10 of the data will come. 1/10 of the storage it will occupy at the time you are importing, because your RAM space is very less. So Don't ask the question, if I have a data, my RAM space is 8 GB and I'm trying to import the data more than 8 GB, what will happen? You are just developing the report. While you are developing, don't import this much data here. Okay, just take a sample data at the time of development. Later I will tell you how to take the whole data. Perfect. So whatever the data you are getting, that will use in-memory technology, RAM space, and it will follow the compression technique. The compression technique, whatever it is following, inside the Power BI, the engine, the backend engine name is called VertiPack X Velocity engine. You need to tell this name in the interview. When they're asking a question, the difference between the input mode and connectivity mode and DirectQuery mode, you need to tell them input mode will copy the data from data source to Power BI modeling. The data, whatever it is copying, will be stored into the RAMs. It is in memory, and it will follow the compression technique. Let's say, for example, if you are importing 100 GB of the data, it will compress to 10 GB. This in-memory technology and compression technique will be taken care by the backend engine, VertiPack X Velocity engine. The same concept, whatever it is following here, even in your Power Pivot also. Last time we discussed about the Power Pivot, right? So Power Pivot is a part of your Excel to perform the data storage and modeling. That is also following the same X Velocity VertiPack engine. X Velocity VertiPack engine will compress the data. It will compress the data over here. Alright, perfect. Even in your SSEAS also, SSEAS is a part of MSBI. That also will use the same engine backend, compressing the data X Velocity VertiPack engine. The engine name is X Velocity VertiPack engine. The engine name is X Velocity VertiPack engine. One second. Okay, so the import connected data from data source to Power BI modeling, and it will store the data in a RAM in memory. It will follow the VertiPack X Velocity engine. The advantages of this is the report performance is good because the data is already copied and saved in a Power BI memory. All data sources are having import connectivity mode, and it will support. All development features are supporting in the Power BI desktop. For calculations, all the DAX functions will be supported over here. Understand? So these are all the advantages of the The next, disadvantages. What are the disadvantages? Before I'm going to find the disadvantages of this input connectivity mode, I want to discuss about the advantages of the direct query mode. Direct query mode. Okay. So what are the advantages of the direct query mode? The advantages of the direct query mode is, you can see the data
We can
what
say
we are
real-time
taking,
data.
that is advantage. Yeah. So the data what we are taking by using a direct query mode, it's a live data. Always the updated data will come from your data source into your visualization. So the one point is, it is taking always a live updated data. That is the one advantage. The second advantage is, we don't need any data to manage. We don't need any data to manage inside a memory. So you can save CPU, memory, all those things will be saved. You don't require a lot of memory. You don't require a burden on this your CPU as well, because you are not copying any data and storing somewhere. It's on your data source only. The data source team will take care about that. That is the one another advantage. What is any other advantages you are finding on this? So when you are using a direct query mode, these are only the two advantages. Now come here, the import mode disadvantages. What are the disadvantages of the import mode? The disadvantages of the import mode is whatever the advantages of the direct query mode. Tell me the first one. What is the disadvantage of the import mode?
We
Look on the
cannot take
advantage.
live update data.
Yes. Import mode will not contain live data to be displayed in report. So needs to wait for fresh data. Needs to wait for fresh data till next schedule. Till the next schedule, you need to wait for the fresh data. Any other?
It uses a lot of CPU memory.
Yes. It needs storage system. Storage of the memory and CPU. Clear? Okay, coming to the disadvantages of the direct query mode. Advantages of the mode or the disadvantages over here. Tell me.
Time taking process is more than compared to import.
Come again.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead. What is the first disadvantage?
Time taking process is more.
Yeah. So the performance of the report will be less compared to import. What might be the reason? The reason is every time your visualizations needs to take the data from your data source. Please mute. Please mute once you are answering the question. So every time it has to go to the data source. But in the import mode, the data will be here. Then it is taking the data from here. Okay. That is the one disadvantage. What is the next disadvantage? Copy these advantages. Few data sources not supporting DirectQuery. Some of the development features are supporting in Power BI Desktop, are not supporting. Some of the development features are not supporting in Power BI Desktop. And for the calculations, some of the DAX functions will not support over here. So these are all the advantages and disadvantages of the Power BI. So now you need to tell, the next question they will ask, how to take the decision. A decision means for your project, which connectivity mode you want to use. What is the connectivity mode you want to use? How can you decide? There are three factors we need to discuss what connectivity mode we need to use. One is volume of the data. How to decide which connectivity mode needs to taken care. Which connectivity mode we need to select. Volume of the data, performance of the report, and the development features. Let's say, for example, I have huge volume of the data When I have a huge volume of the data, you just tell me which connectivity mode is better. In my data source, I have a lot of data. Then which connectivity mode you guys can recommend?
Direct connectivity.
DirectQuery mode. Can you tell me the reason?
It is taking live data and
It
time
will
taking
not take a
process.
space, memory.
Yes, memory is there.
Exactly. So we have a concern about the memory. That depends on your RAM space or whatever. Your RAM space is 8 GB only, but our data source having 200 GB of the data. 200 GB of the data daily at morning 10:30. If you are trying to copy and storing into Power BI desktop memory, just imagine how much time it will take. And managing this much data is definitely a difficult process. So instead of that, better you can take the DirectQuery mode and take only the data whatever you require. Let's say for example, in this visualization, I'm just displaying the total salaries. Then it will take only the information related to the salaries instead of copying the whole data into your Power BI. So when you have a huge volume of the data, better you can go ahead with the DirectQuery mode. Recommend DirectQuery mode. Performance is not a big deal. I don't have performance issue. I don't have a performance concern. Then go ahead with the DirectQuery. And I don't require all the development features. Then go ahead with the DirectQuery. So the primary thing is volume of the data. Based on the volume of the data, we need to decide what connectivity mode. Also, if you want a live updated data, I want to see every 1 hour or every 30 minutes what's going on in my business. So when it is a live data is required, just go ahead with the DirectQuery mode. Understand? So when they're asking a question, how to decide the connectivity mode? Generally, we don't take this kind of decisions. The high level, top level management will take the decision what connectivity mode needs to use in your project. But as a developer, you need to give some points and justifications. What are the advantages and disadvantages, and what kind of circumstances we will prefer import mode, what kind of circumstances we will take the DirectQuery mode. So just take a pick of this one. So now we are clear, right? What connectivity mode we want to use. In this training, most of the time I'm going to use import connectivity because I want to demonstrate all the development features, all the DAX functions. So that is the reason I'm going to use the connectivity mode as a import connectivity mode. Then click OK. Use the current credentials, click connect. I think click OK. So it has established a connection to your data source, and then it will populate all the list of the tables and databases available in your SQL Server. So how many databases you have? 4 databases. But which database you are going to connect? AdventureWorks. Under AdventureWorks DW 2017, what are the tables available? These are the list of, but I don't take all the tables, only the tables required to design the reporting. See, these are all the tables. What tables you are expecting? I am expecting customer table, I'm expecting date table. I'm expecting geography table. Each employee belongs to which location, and who is the customers, and what are all the products selling from your from your website. What are the categories, subcategories, and what is the fact internet sales table. So these are all the list of the tables I'm going to import over here. The data will be copied into your memory. So what you did till now, you are trying to extract the data. ETL, E stands for extraction, T for transformation, L for loading. So you are selecting some list of the tables, that is nothing but a extraction. You are trying to extract the tables. Then after, we are trying to transform the data, or do you want to load the data? Extraction, transformation, and loading. Loading the data means it will directly copying all the data will be loaded into your data modeling. The data will be loaded into data modeling. T stands for transformation. Transformation means you are extracting the data. For that data, if you want to apply any kind of data cleaning techniques, if you want to perform any kind of data cleaning, then go ahead with transform the data. I don't need to do any kind of transformation techniques. I just want to load the data because it's already cleaned data on my data source system. I don't require to apply any business logics. Then directly you can load without applying any transformation techniques. Later also you can apply the transformation techniques. Let's say for example I have extracted the data, then simply finally I am loading. Later if you want to apply any business logics, then yes, you can go and apply the transformation techniques after loading also. Or at the time before I'm going to load the data, if you want to apply any transformation technique, yes, that also you can do. So first I will show you how to apply a simple transformation and then finally loading the data. Or you can directly load the data, then you can apply the transformation. Okay, I will load the data directly into my Power BI memory. So click on load. So all the metadata plus data. What do you mean by metadata? Metadata means information about the data. Means what is the table name, what is the column names and data types. Data is the actual data inside the tables. So it is copying all the tables and the 18488 rows, and also it is importing any relationships between the tables. So data is copied, and where you can see the data whatever you copied. See in the left side pan there are three pans: report pan, data pan, modeling pan. The data what you imported, if you want to see, you can go to the data pan. These are the list of the tables you have imported: dim customer, dim date, geography, product, fact. Which data you want to see? Customer data. Click on customer data. See, this is the customer data. All the list of the tables imported are geography, are dim product, are dim product category, and dim product subcategory, are fact internet sales. These are all the list of the tables. These are all the list of the tables we have over here. Do you want to see the modeling? So you can go to the data modeling. That is the second phase. But first we are in the data discovery phase only. This is your data modeling, making the relationships between the tables. And then designing the visualizations. That is in the report pan. Here you need to design the visualization. For example, a chart I'm going to take, and in this chart I'm going to display each category wise English code category, you can drag and drop on this visualization, and also the sales amount from the fact internet sales table. So where is the sales amount? The sales amount will come from here. Sales amount is coming over here. Okay, this is how you can design the visualization. Then after, you can see there is a publish. You are publishing the report. That is the fourth phase. The first phase is connecting to data source and importing the data. Second phase is making the relationships over here. Third phase is designing the visualizations. Fourth phase is publishing the reports. Power phase completed. So if you observe over here, at the time you are importing the data, unnecessarily you are importing all the list of columns, right? So many columns you are importing in a table, but really we don't require those many. For example, in the dim customer table, I don't require to import these many tables over here. I don't require French occupation, Spanish occupation, and French education, all these things. So you can remove these fields at the time you are going to load into your memory. That way you can do. That is a transformation phase. In the ETL, you are extracting at the time of the transformation, you need to remove those columns. Where you can perform that one. The transformation phase, if you want to open, see there is edit queries. Click on edit queries. Under the dim customer, see here, there is a dim customer. What are the columns you want to remove? French education, French occupation, Spanish education. These are the things, sorry. These two I want to remove. Right click, remove the columns. Done. Two columns are removed. Then close and apply. Then those two columns will be removed from here also, you can see. It's processing. Now again it is reloading the data. See? Those columns are gone. There is no education, Spanish education, all those things. So that data will not be loaded. That is a transformation. So after loading also you can go back and applying the transformation technique. So in tomorrow's session we are going to discuss more focusing on this transformation techniques. There are so many transformation techniques available, but don't worry. Those are repeatedly the same transformation techniques you can see here and you can see here. So from now onwards, 4 to 5 sessions we are going to discuss about these transformation techniques. Okay, once we are applying transformation techniques, we will apply that and that will be loaded over here. So this is the data discovery part. We will focus on the ETL, a transformation. The transformation we are going to apply on the edit queries. When you are importing the data, each table will create like a one query. Those queries, if you want to edit, you need to go to edit queries. Clear? Any questions so far today? Any
Where do we
questions?
here?
Come again?
Where do we apply DAX function here?
That we will discuss later. The DAX functions we are going to write down in the new column, new measure. See here in the top.
Okay.
That is a different topic. Okay, just focus on the data discovery. Any questions so far today? Please practice. Whatever I am doing, you have to do. I hope everyone is installing these things. Okay, all right, guys. We will meet tomorrow. and we'll discuss about the further topics. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ram.